Dimitri. I'm a researcher, formerly research partner at 1KX, and I think this is a super important topic. Yeah, maybe let's kick off super quick, 30-second intros, you and what your company does.
Okay, hi everybody, I'm Hao from Blockto Wallet, and we're an AA wallet 4337 compatible on almost all the layer 2s and also the Ethereum mainnet.
Hey guys, this is Deli from Automata. I'm the co-founder of it. We're building attestation layers across rollups. We're trying to doing attestations for hardwares, essentially introducing the concept of proof of machine code into Ethereum.
Hey, I'm Mirko. I'm a dev at Consensus. We're a software company with a bunch of products. The most famous probably MetaMask. We also have Linea, which is a ZK layer 2.
Yeah, my name is Antoine. I'm ecosystem lead at Argent. So Argent is a smart contract wallet. In fact, together with Safe, we were one of the first smart contract wallets already back in 2018. So we've been in the AA space for a long time. And I think we have developed strong opinions on account abstraction. And that basically led us from building a smart account on Ethereum to focusing on ZK rollups with native account abstraction. And now we have a very strong focus on Starknet, which we believe is the best place for rapid adoption of account abstraction.
Hey guys, my name is Max. I am the partnerships lead at GM Labs. GM stands for growth and marketing. So that's the main areas that we focus on. We have two main products right now. One is called QuestN, which is a questing platform that helps projects to grow their community, acquire new users, and build on-chain campaigns. Secondly, we have a new app launched called Timing You, which focuses on all the off-chain events, helping you to kind of schedule your event participations and also kind of making sure you meet the right people at the right place and right time.
Nice.
I really need that.
Cool. So I think this is more developer centric. I want to do a baseline, do an Eli 5. If someone could take a stab at this, would be great. I'm a dev. I understand what an EOA is. I know what a public-private key pair is. I generally understand the transaction flow on Ethereum. Can you explain the difference between the transaction flow between a EOA wallet and an AA-enabled wallet? And anyone could grab it.
I guess I take this one. So for a usual transaction, you're sending your transaction over the RPC to a full node, and full node will pack it in the next block. That's the very basic understanding of the blockchain. And for user operation from 4337, you're sending another kind of user's intents, not a transaction, it's a user operation. You're sending it over to a decentralized bundler network, and the bundler network will pack multiple user operations into one native transaction of Ethereum and send it over to the network. It's almost the case.
But you could have a non-4337 version of an AA wallet.
You mean we or?
In general.
In general, so account abstraction is a thing that you can have abstracted account on Ethereum, and 4337 is one of the implementation. And for 4337, it introduces a decentralized bundler network, which is different from the prior work. Like Argent did that, and there's also gas station network. So you can have pretty much centralized 3 layers to send meta transactions for users. But 4337 wanted to have a decentralized bundling network, so you don't have the censorship stuff from the private bundlers. You have the decentralized network. But for now, the P2P protocol is still under development, but they are going towards full decentralized of that.
Nice. And this is different on Starknet. I suppose like this might be one of the opinions, I suppose. But AA is native to Starknet, ZK Sync. Was that part of your rationale for wanting to build on there? Is there some kind of benefit you saw to having it be native to the rollup, or were there any other reasons?
Yeah, so it was mainly an adoption rationale. So indeed, we've been now working with account abstraction for almost 6 years, and we very quickly noticed that adoption would be very difficult on Ethereum for mainly 2 reasons. First one is that smart accounts are a bit more expensive than EOAs because you have that built-in logic, that layer of intelligence that you can add to your smart account, which is a smart contract, and so gas is a bit higher, right? So that's a first problem. That's a problem that is being solved by layer 2s, by scaling solutions. So we think, it's not a problem, but it still is a problem on Ethereum layer 1. But then the other issue is dApps compatibility and dApps adoption. So first of all, dApps compatibility. To date, still many dApps are not compatible with account abstraction standards. There is an EIP called EIP 1271, which is extremely important for dApps to be able to recognize a signature coming from a smart account. This EIP has been around since 2018 as well. And to date, many prominent dApps still do not support that EIP. There is actually a website called eip1271.io. You can go have a look. You have there a list of well-known dApps, well-known names that are not compatible with account abstraction. So that means users on these smart accounts cannot use these dApps. That is an issue of compatibility. The other thing is that once a dApp is compatible with smart accounts, they also need to build a dedicated experience for users. They need to make it worth for users to use smart accounts. So that means that, I don't know, if with account abstraction we can enable multiple session keys, but dApps have to do it. They have to build these experiences. And the big issue we see is that, again, to date, the majority, I don't have numbers, but 95, 99% of the user base is still using EOAs. So dApps have no short-term incentive to build these dedicated experiences for smart accounts. Because ideally now they should have two user flows, one for users using EOAs and one for users using smart accounts. So that is double the work. You need to replicate everything. You need to be able to tell that user is using an EOA, that one is using a smart account, and then have two different user experiences. And so for these reasons, we believe account abstraction adoption on Ethereum layer 1 will take a lot of time. It will take years. It might go faster on some layer 2s, namely, ZK rollups with native account abstraction. So that is ZK Sync and Starknet. On ZK Sync, typically EOAs can benefit from some of the account abstraction capabilities. So an EOA on ZK Sync can use a paymaster, for instance. So that's a bit better, but still they don't have the full capability. And then on Starknet, there is no EOA anymore, only smart accounts. So account abstraction on Starknet is actually today already a reality. It's already happening. Actually, you do multi-call all the time when interacting with Starknet dApps. And so that's why we have chosen to focus on Starknet. That's really the place where we believe we can offer our users the abstracted experience that they deserve.
Nice. And I guess like touching on 4 through 7 in general, I mean, there has not been a lot of adoption. Right, like even on L2s, there's like 3 paymasters. There's maybe 600K in volume across those paymasters. Bundlers are unprofitable. There's an average of say like 5 user ops per smart account. Why does the adoption suck so bad?
I guess one of the reasons is the gas consumption is pretty high. So you send transaction in general is more expensive than EOA accounts. And the second thing is that you have to like Arjun just mentioned that the ERC 1271 is not adopted so good across the dApps. And also in order to like sign signatures from your account, you have to basically deploy your account first. But that's a pretty big stopper for a lot of users from using smart accounts, because in general, when you go to a random dApp, usually the first thing you connect your wallet, and second thing you sign the signature. But there is one specific ERC trying to specify that how to sign signature without account is deployed. But that one also requires dApps to adopt that mechanism. But we can see that even the ERC 1271, it's just pretty much a little tweak of the signature verification of the dApp logic. It's not adapted so well. So if you want to have another logic to adopt the signature from the account, which is not even deployed, it's even harder. So I guess mainly 2 things, one for the gas and the second one for the dApp adoption.
But gas on it is more gas, but to a user, because it's on an L2, I feel like there's not much difference between like 5 cents and 50 cents. I feel like there's something else there.
Right. It's not that much. You mean the gas?
Yeah, like for an end user, it is more gas, but on a dollar basis, it's not that much more.
Right, yeah, you're right. So that the DApp is the thing. Yeah. But the gas just, yeah, of course on layer 2 is always cheap. But actually on like those popular layer 2 like Optimism or Arbitron, you still got like $1 something per transaction between EOA and smart accounts. So you can argue that's not that much, but still something to the users. Even especially when you're doing something like, for example, minting free NFT or just doing some random little thing without like a lot of value transfer. You don't want such high transaction fee happening, even just $1.
Yeah. Any other issues in addition to 1271 high gas that you think is hindering 4.3.7 adoption from anyone else?
I think my take on that is on the migration cost, because user experience is kind of defined by DApp developers. But nowadays, all the DApps, they are like having very high TVL, and they are just a little bit like reluctant to move like into the new standard. So actually, to tackle this kind of challenge, there might be like different ways. One of the approaches, okay, let's convince the like base layers, layer 1, layer 2, just to adopt the native account abstraction and maybe just make a switch so that all the accounts suddenly can become an AA account. The other approach is, okay, now we have better infrastructure, better debugging tools, developer tools, so that, okay, next wave of the applications, like the next billion user apps, could just like start with all the new standards, so that like we don't have to like wait for the like existing apps to make the transition.
I think also there is the fact that who's gonna pay for the gas cost. So let's say I'm a DApp, maybe I want to sponsor some gas for the user, but then if that user go and use another DApp with an account, or like who's gonna pay for it, right? Because me as the original DApp, I took the cost. I know that there has been some interesting kind of work around this on like how can this cost carry on to the next DApp. That was super interesting. Yeah. And also I think one of the other reason is like obviously like for in terms of adoption, like all the big wallets in at least in the in main that are in mainnet, like no one really kind of is account abstraction 100% at the moment. I think OKX they might have a wallet, but if you look at us, MetaMask, Coinbase, and so on, there is no native AA kind of wallet yet.
Yep, that makes sense. And good timing in a way to talk about this, because RIP 7560 was published today. This is the first roll-up improvement proposal. It's an implementation of native account abstraction on a roll-up that is backwards compatible with 4.3.7. I don't know if any of y'all had a chance to glance through it. Any initial thoughts?
I actually had a glance on it. So it's pretty practical, I would say. Like it tries to not changing anything from the 4.3.7 standard, but just put a lot of things into the in-protocol stuff. And I saw one, like in particular, very good things that it tried to remove the gas difference from EOA transaction versus user operations. And that's a good thing because actually the 21,000 gas comes from the EC recover for the transaction overall. And also some state change on chain. But for user operation, actually, that's kind of envelope and covering the actual transaction, which is user operations for 3.7. So the 21,000 is actually wasted for some reason because we don't want to do any in-protocol changes. So we have to bear with that to 21,000 gas consumption. But if you remove that, the user operation is actually possibly cheaper than EOA transactions because we have those like aggregation of signatures, we have the batch transactions, we can send multiple user operations at the same time. And at the moment you got like, I think there's a sweet spot that user operations will be in general cheaper than EOA transactions, and that's a good thing.
I think from what I read also, like they still keep execution and validation kind of separate, and also have some post-transaction step, which kind of makes it compatible with 4337, 29, and 38, I guess. So like the smart accounts currently existing, they can kind of just roll over.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a contention here with, I guess, like the Starknets and ZK Syncs of the world that already have their own flavor of native AA, how that's going to look like if they would kind of like rip out one standard and put in another, or if these are going to live kind of along each other.
No, I think they will live. Just to make it clear, so indeed, it's they have different flavors. I like that word of AA, but it's very much inspired by ERC-4337. So in terms of transaction flow, it's very similar. I think, well, basically the idea is the same, but it's already at protocol level, and I think ideally that's what should happen on layer 1 as well, and that would solve many adoption issues, maybe not all of them, but that'd be a good start.
But I think there's a potential issue from the RIP because it tries to, like in generally be compatible with 457, which means it introduces a lot of overhead. So 457 is an off-protocol thing, so it has to have something that you do in less efficient than you do it in protocol. But when you're putting it back to the protocol, you still like remain the same flow of the protocol, which means you introduce a lot of like different multi-steps and even different transaction types. Different kinds of overhead will be introduced into the protocol. But I still think that's a good direction, that we're putting things back to the basic layer of the EVM, and then we can have more native support and less like, well, the efficiency will be slightly better than the 47, but still a long way to go.
Yeah, that makes sense. Very cool. Maybe we could then make a case for AA. You know, assuming there's actual like developers in the room, potential applications. How do you kind of frame, you know, like how do you make the case to the developer in the room that they should be building with an AA-enabled wallet, in the sense of like what are the most exciting use cases for each of you that AA actually enables?
I think the most compelling reason is actually the easier user acquisitions, lower the user entry barriers. For example, if you have AA-enabled infrastructure, wallets, or the apps, you can just like cover the cost, subsidize the gas cost, maybe initially for like first 1,000 transactions or first 1,000 users, so that they can just like start like just like tapping into your games easily without having to cover like think about how to like get the initial gas tokens and send the first transactions. So that would be a very important property. And second thing is with AA-enabled wallets, it's actually becoming a more programmable like infrastructure, so that you can like hook in multiple different maybe devices and hardwares as wallets. So for example, like people have been talking about how to like use like some of the WebAuthn standards or passkey standard, so that you can just like you don't have to convince user to like create wallets. They can just use their existing devices, because this kind of standard has been like pretty like prevalent in some of the Web2 world. So again, so it's easier for user to just get access to this kind of infrastructure.
I kind of have a more classic case for a blockchain world. So those fancy things you hear about is about like session keys or modular accounts. You can have multiple like fancy functionalities to your account. But I'm going to talk about like a very basic case. For smart accounts, you can send batch transactions, which means you can send like multiple transactions at one shot. So imagine you have USDC and you want to send it over to your friend in terms of Ether. And then you can approve your account to Uniswap with like 1,000 USDC and swap it and transfer it to another one within just one transaction. So it will have you several benefits. So the first one is that you don't have to bear with you don't have to wait for 3 transactions to be confirmed. It's just one transaction on Ethereum. And the second one is that I'm not sure, but I think that most of the users just approve the maximum amount of USDC to the Uniswap router because of the convenience. But in this case, you can have approve plus swap plus transfer at the same time, which means you can just approve exact amount you want to transfer every time. So introduce more secure user experience for users when they're using either Uniswap or other dApps. Yeah, so that's one little thing, that batch transactions, you can do that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not so much on the DeFi side, and I think 2 things that we mentioned before. One upside, of course, or one downside is the transaction costs, right? And the way or the direction where we come from, we are building a lot of dApps, right? So our long-term plan is to kind of reunite them in one app chain. An app chain that is going to be completely, well, gasless for the user. Also building on what Deli said earlier today, experience is very important, right? And from our side, what is important is to have AA within those wallets, but also kind of not really showing it off to the user, right? So the experience should be there without kind of looking into or having to look into all the technical backgrounds. And yeah, I think at this point, what we're trying to do is not just because we're not from DeFi side of things, right? So we're trying to build this GM chain, what is it's going to be called. And since it's not like DeFi focused or big transactions focused, it's just going to be focused on data, right? Which also allows us to kind of how to put it. Which also allows us to kind of compensate for the transactions and transaction fees because they will be very low, right? So that's also how we can enable to have better experiences for the users.
For us, MetaMask, it's kind of interesting because we took a different path, I guess, from other wallets in the sense that we built Snaps, which is a permissionless platform, and we're really kind of empowering developers to create their own kind of journey and to kind of decide what flavor of, in this case, account abstraction they want to see, right? So we already seen some use cases from Economy and from some other project that built some very cool account abstraction snap. And I guess, yeah, that's quite interesting because it's, I guess, different from what everyone else is trying to do.
Yeah, just maybe to take a step back, the whole point of account abstraction is to bring together Web 2 UX and Web 3 magic, right? And we are all here convinced by the Web 3 magic and that it's awesome and blockchain is an awesome technology. But we now need to go beyond that, early adopters that we are, and to fetch and to go find this mass adoption. And that's only going to happen through account abstraction. So I just want to tell all the dApps out there that tomorrow's successful dApps will be the ones that will be able to sell their services to, just normal people, mass adoption, not early adopters. So that's, I think, the best reason to use AA to improve UX. And it's not that easy. I mean, my job is to talk to dApps, and especially when I was doing this on ZK Sync, convince them to adopt account abstraction. And some people told me that actually they think that it's great to have ERC20 approved before being able to swap, because we are early adopters, and that's how we see things. But that's a mindset change that we need to be able to do as well.
Add on some. So yeah, I want to pretty much, not pretty much, very, very much agree with that. And I forgot what I gotta say.
It's all good. I can ask nothing. So I guess from a developer perspective, if someone in the room is thinking of building something that's AA enabled, any strong opinions on what the ideal sort of AA stack should be from a developer perspective? For example, from a wallet factory perspective, simple account versus zero dev kernel versus safe core.
I guess I can take this one. So AA stack, in terms of it means different things to different people. And for AA stack, for wallets like us, we're in general using our own factory, deploying our own accounts. But that's for us. And I think the more, which means more is to the dApp side. So what's the AA stack for the dApp side? So, because they are the dApps to attract users. And for one thing, you can just use, the first thing first, you got to go with ERC 1271. That thing you get to compare with smart accounts. That's from the Solidity side. But from your application side, you can choose you use embedded account. So embedded account comes with zero dev, third web, and some wallet as a service. They're doing pretty good stuff on the embedded account. And other things are using injection smart account, for example, Argent or Blockto, or even Empire, those user-facing smart accounts. And it's a pretty different approach. So it's better for user security and for user experience across different apps. And with embedded account, you have more control over users' accounts. You can send transaction on their behalf. But on the other side, you're not compromised. You're just a little bit like taking a little bit trade-off on user security concern.
Yeah, I think the ideal stack, AA stack, for developers would be like a step-by-step like transition to the to some of the ideal AA cases. For example, if because we are building infrastructure, we're building RPC endpoint. Like when we see this kind of EIP 4337 standard, we see a lot of new components that has to be run by the infrastructure. So that's actually some extra cost for the infra and also like some extra work to make sure that the new infrastructure is scalable and also like is like the uptime is good. So I'm actually more inclined to see like more of this kind of enshrinement happening like in some of the layer 1, layer 2 protocol, so that okay, once they decide on something, maybe okay, let's like put this kind of standard just into the infrastructure, and and also they can have maybe some reference implementation so that we can just stick to the same kind of standard without like hesitating to like decide which one should we support. I mean, once we have this kind of thing settled down, like infra providers work will be simplified. Then the developer will also have like more unified infrastructure to deal with. So yeah, that's my take on this.
I think it's very cool, just to kind of divert a bit, but to see how many infrastructure projects are coming up in the last few months. And I don't want to shield any project, but like I've seen like Bikeonomy is doing a great job. The guys at Pimlico, they're good friends. Another amazing project. Fun XYZ is another project that I've been looking into recently. It's another cool one. What else? There was another one, Asta Kappa, obviously, from John Rising, another great project. So yeah, it's super interesting to see how many of these people like are not just focusing on building wallet and UI, but they're also starting to focus on infrastructure.
Yep. I'll ask one more question, and then we'll maybe do one from the audience if anyone has one. On embedded wallets, I'm torn on it because from one perspective, it's quite a nice experience because the application is the wallet in the sense, and I think that's actually quite competitive for in a wallet SDK project. Like if they want market share, you just need to find a couple of great like consumer scale apps. But from another perspective, if you do believe that every application will be a wallet, it sounds like a nightmare from an identity perspective because you're going to have assets and identity effectively fragmented across dozens of applications. I'm curious if there's any strong thoughts around embedded wallets going forward. Around is this actually like the right way to get adoption for smart wallets, or if there should be maybe some other design patterns that application developers should be thinking about.
I think, yeah, just want to add something to the last point you mentioned. So all the data flowing around doesn't necessarily have to be scary. I think it can also be a good thing because, for example, if you kind of aggregate all that data into DID, you can also utilize it to offer more customized solutions to a user, right? Or to a certain wallet owner.
Actually, yesterday I was in a panel of AI evolution with like Derek from Zero Dev, and we actually talked about the exact same question about embedded wallet, like user experience across different DApps. And the thing is that you cannot stop that from DApps. You cannot stop DApps from using an embedded wallet because it's like way better user experience. Like at least for the control over the user accounts, is way better than injected wallet. But think of that for decentralized world, we're always talking about like self-sovereignty, decentralizations, so self-custody thing. So you cannot like always hand over your asset, hand over your wallet to all the DApps. So what we talked about is like we thought there must be something you have to offboard your user from an embedded wallet to some wallet he controls. So you can have a lot of wallets across different dApps. That's totally fine. And I think that's a good thing towards mass adoption, like towards good user experience, towards good like DApp implementation in any sense. But at the end of the day, you still have to have a way that hand over that control back to the user. So that's what like the user-facing wallets, or probably Blockto is here, Argent is here, MailMassNav is also here. We're trying to control those like fragmented embedded wallet back to yourself. So that's the thing. That's the way I think it's going to happen. So embedded wallet for user experience within the dApp, but the control has to be at the end handed over back to the user.
I think the market is kind of already like approved that this kind of approach works, right? Friend Tag, and Uniball. They all kind of just embedded wallet. And the thing that user had to figure out is actually the cost behind this. So if you have your keys controlled by others, or if this is a separate identity, you really have to figure out if your asset is secure. Then just make a threshold. So make sure that you don't put extra money into it, and even something goes wrong, your loss is kind of controlled. And also for this kind of embedded wallet, I think it's fine to have multiple wallets in the future, each of the app that just have one their own solutions or identity, because I mean those in the future will be all throwaway accounts. You can just easily switch between them, migrate the assets between them, because the cost of running those operations will be a lot lower.
We are running out of time, but I just want to emphasize the fact that embedded wallet does not mean that liquidity has to be fragmented. So on Starknet, we do have an email login embedded wallet, but it's simply the same on every dApp, right? So it's actually unified on every dApp. You can connect with the same wallet using your email, and it's embedded within the dApp.
Nice. Yeah, unfortunately, we're out of time, but super interesting conversation. I think AA still has a lot of entropy, a lot of unknown questions, but everyone's all driving towards the same goal, which is to improve UX by 10x, 100x to actually make this stuff mainstream usable. So thank you guys for working on it, and clap for the audience.